David Green was a trooper for 36 years. He lived and died on this street. His friends say he died a hero trying to save others. People left flowers at the crash site and the spot where David Green died. The former Mass State trooper and military veteran died Saturday in this alley. Witnesses say he was trying to protect friends and neighbors from the shooter who was walking down the street.
I really believe he saved people's lives because this gunman was deranged, and Dave probably stopped him from going into homes and killing people.
Now, I wanted to pause it here for a second because they're talking about this is a racial incident. There's some kind of racial element to this incident where this madman in Winthrop, Massachusetts, went on a shooting rampage. And the two people he killed happened to be black. But they're saying it's a racial incident. And I found it interesting that this guy is saying that everybody was potentially in harm and that the black guy, the state trooper, saved everyone, and that's why he got shot. But they're still making it seem, they're still playing it in the media like a racial incident, and it may well have been. But I want you guys to determine that as you watch this.
Former Mass State trooper and military veteran died Saturday in this alley. Witnesses say he was trying to protect friends and neighbors from the shooter who was walking down the street.
I really believe he saved people's lives because this gunman was deranged, and Dave probably stopped him from going into homes and killing people.
Nick Ciotis grew up with David Green in Winthrop, had coffee with him on Saturday morning. He says David was sitting with friends when he heard the crash and was heading that way to help.
Thought there was a crash, and he did not have his weapon with him, obviously, and he went out and tried to do what he was doing for 36 years with the state police, trying to help save lives and help save people. There was no better human being than Dave Green. He really fulfilled everything that was good and best of humanity.
Now, the DA said this afternoon that suspect Nathan Allen might have chosen his two victims based on the color of their skin. She says investigators have uncovered disturbing writings by Allen. Here's our chief investigator, Cheryl Fiandaca, with what we know about Nathan Allen.
Sources say this surveillance photo shows Nathan Allen carrying a handgun walking down the street in Winthrop yesterday. The 28-year-old Allen, who police say stole a large truck and was driving at twice the speed limit when he crashed, had a license to carry a firearm and was carrying two handguns. Allen got married last year and moved to Winthrop with his wife. Prosecutors say they found white supremacist rhetoric and anti-Semitic statements in his own handwriting during the investigation. As for a motive for the shooting, police now believe the two victims may have been targeted because they were black.
Now, we got to get the racial makeup for Winthrop, because if this guy really wanted to kill black people, there's a lot of places in New England he could have gone. Let's see if Winthrop is one of the places where you go if you're looking for a bunch of black people to kill. Okay, guys, so the racial makeup of Winthrop. Winthrop is a town that's 94.4% white and 1.68% black. So David Green, he made a wise decision as to where to live. This was just bad luck. Because that's what basketball players do. That's what actors do. Black actors. That's what anybody black with two nickels to rub together. This is what they do. If you're a black person and you come into means, this is what you do. All of them. LeBron James, Kevin Durant, all of them. Russell Wilson, Sierra, you think they live in the hood? You think they live in a middle-class black neighborhood? No. They don't want to get a suntan. They stay as far away from the sun as you can. This place is 1.68% black. And this guy stole a truck and he was looking for some black people to kill. Seems he would have left this town and gone somewhere else. But we'll see. We'll see. I just was made aware of this story by one of you guys. Salute to you guys, sent this to me. But let's see.
As for a motive for the shooting, police now believe the two victims may have been targeted because they were black. Police say their investigation is ongoing. Cheryl Fiandaca, WBZ News.
The victims shot to death during Saturday's rampage in Winthrop have been identified as 58-year-old David Green, a retired state trooper, and 60-year-old Ramona Cooper, a former Air Force sergeant. Both are black.
So he killed the only two black people in the whole damn town. Wow.
In Winthrop have been identified as 58-year-old David Green, a retired state trooper, and 60-year-old Ramona Cooper, a former Air Force sergeant. Both are black, and Suffolk DA Rachel Rollins believes that's very likely why the white gunman targeted them. She calls the killings executions. Good evening to you. I'm Ken McLeod. DA Rollins says the shooter, 28-year-old Nathan Allen, passed over several other possible victims who were white. And her investigators are looking at this as a hate crime.
So he passed over several victims that were white. Now, which one is it? Did this guy run over there to try to save people, which he's been doing for 36 years as a state trooper, which just came natural to him? He probably didn't even think about it. Running towards the problem. Running towards the gunfire, running towards the psychopath. So as a state trooper for 36 years, it was probably second nature. Or did the guy seek him out because he was black? Like, which? I'm a little confused.
At this crumbled house where the shooting began, Black Lives Matter signs are popping up. In response to the district attorney's belief, the shooter likely targeted people of color.
It's just a really tragic day in Winthrop.
An Air Force veteran and retired police officer shot dead in broad daylight in Winthrop. Investigators believe because they were black.
In this individual, Nathan Allen's own handwriting, writing anti-Semitic and racist statements against black individuals.
What was the point of telling us that he wrote anti-Semitic statements if he killed two black people? Like, why'd you tell us that?
Police say 28-year-old Nathan Allen of Winthrop stole a box truck Saturday afternoon, crashed into a house, then went on a killing spree before he was shot and killed by police.
It is a tragedy that it was two people. It could have been many, many more.
Once Allen escaped the stolen truck, investigators say he shot 60-year-old Ramona Cooper several times in the back.
She's a good person.
Cooper's son says she was generous, a veteran of the Air Force, and was working with veterans up until her shocking death.
Yeah, I got sick to my stomach when I found out about it was racially motivated.
You mean you got sick to your stomach when you found out it was your mom, right?
She's a good person.
Cooper's son says she was generous, a veteran of the Air Force, and was working with veterans up until her shocking death.
Yeah, I got sick to my stomach when I found out about it was racially motivated.
After shooting Cooper, investigators believe Allen passed by several white people before shooting David Green in the head and torso. Green, a retired state trooper who served 36 years in law enforcement.
So this is a sad day. These two people protected our rights. They fought for us to be safe and to have the opinions that we have, and they were executed yesterday. And we will find out why.
The district attorney says anti-Semitic and racist writings believed to be Allen's have revealed a potential motive, and his actions on Saturday have classified this double murder as a potential hate crime.
He walked by several other people that were not black, and they are alive. They were not harmed.
And the district attorney says the police officer who shot and killed Allen is a hero, only shooting the suspect after he ignored several requests to drop his gun.
Retired trooper David Green spent 36 years in law enforcement, more than 2 decades of that with the Massachusetts State Police, where he was widely respected by his colleagues. He retired from the state police in 2016, with many fellow troopers describing him as a true gentleman. Green received a hero's procession Saturday night as his body was brought to the state medical examiner's office in Boston. WBZ's Lisa Greshy spent the day talking to the former trooper's friends and neighbors. She continues our team coverage.
There was no better human being than Dave Green. He really fulfilled everything that was good and best of humanity.
A lifelong friend of Green's, Nick Ciotos, was with him hours before the gunman hit the street.
So I immediately texted Dave. I said, Dave, be careful. I think there's a gunman on the loose on Shirley Street. If you get this message, please text me. And I didn't hear from him.
So now in a state where the majority of the fatal gun violence victims are black and the majority of the fatal gun violence suspects are black, white people as a race are going to be besmirched by the actions of that guy, including that guy's best friend. And I feel like I have to bring certain things to light. This is that guy's best friend who, as soon as he found out it was a shooter on the street, he texted his friend David Green and told him to be careful because he knew his friend was a hero cop that would run out there and try to help people like 99.9% of cops do. And I think I need you guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, because you won't understand why I'm talking the way I'm talking if you just watch one video. You have to at least watch a couple days worth of videos to understand. So subscribe, hit the like button, hit the PayPal, hit the Cash App. If you're watching this as a premiere, hit the super chat. But this guy David Green, lived in an all-white town. It don't get no whiter than this. The only person who lives in a whiter town than our friend David Green, who's passed on, is Patrice Cullors. The town she lives in is 1.4% black. This town, Winthrop, is 1.68% black. So Patrice Cullors has our buddy David Green by a couple of tenths of a percentage point, as far as, just trying to live peacefully. try to be safe. But this video is about a moon man, as y'all would call him. A man of the moon. Whose racist rhetoric in his writings they believe to be his. I'll just give him that. It's so many racists out there now that weren't racist in 2019. They've made so many people racist. There was already racists out there, but there's a whole lot of racists out now, man. Because people are tired of being called racist. You keep calling people racist and they become racist. But this guy, he may have been a racist before 2020, before the Blackistanian Spring. And what he did is going to have this whole town of Winthrop, which our friend David Green lived in, and seemed to be happy, seemed to be willing to risk his life for these white people. And our other friend, Miss Cooper, who seemed to be happy, and she see her little biracial son. These people seem to be living great in this town. And this guy who did this shooting just recently moved to Winthrop. The guy who did this shooting just recently moved to Winthrop. As they stated earlier in another video, he just moved to Winthrop a year ago. So he's not part of the fabric of the Winthrop community. Yet his actions are going to be like, represent the entire white community in Winthrop. But few people are going to highlight, even though you see it. This guy's best friend was white. I don't know what his wife looks like. We'll find that out later. But this guy's best friend was a white guy who called him as soon as he heard there was a shooter on the block. First thing he did was text David Green. I think that's more indicative of the people of Winthrop than this psychopath racist that just moved there last year.
So I immediately texted Dave. I said, Dave, be careful. I think there's a gunman on the loose on Shirley Street. If you get this message, please text me. Yeah, I didn't hear from him.
I just heard like bang, bang, bang. Like I could hear like shots.
Green, with an honorable 36 years in law enforcement, heard those same shots and went into a nearby alleyway to see what was going on, only to come face to face with the shooter.
I think this man was out to kill a lot of people. And Dave stopped him.
Green never made it out. The neighbors he was protecting, heartbroken.
I feel so bad for Dave. I ran right by him in the alleyway while this guy is just shooting away.
I think because of Dave's actions, he thwarted him and he wound up going back into the street, and that's when the police officer engaged with him and they had the shootout.
That Winthrop sergeant taking over Green's heroic efforts.
You know, that guy just kept, he wanted a standoff with the officer. And that officer, I owe my life to because he saved us.
Hold on. What do you mean he saved you? That guy was only out there to kill black people. He wasn't going to kill any white people, remember? This is a confusing story. The white people on the scene were terrified. They thought they were going to die. The first person the guy saw after he crashed the truck and got out was a black woman. Was she just unlucky to be the first person he saw? Maybe. And then he's in the alley and he gets confronted by David Green. So he shoots him dead. And then here comes another cop and shoots him dead. But these white people here seem to think that they were in danger, but they weren't in danger according to the media, because all he wanted to do was kill black people. He went to Winthrop to kill black people.
You know, that guy just kept, he wanted a standoff with the officer. And that officer, I owe my life to because he saved us.
Green's best friend doesn't doubt for a second why the retired trooper took action.
Gave up his own life, made the ultimate sacrifice for others. That's what Dave Green was all about.
Green grew up here in Winthrop, and everyone we spoke with says as soon as you met him, you had a friend for life. Reporting in Winthrop, Lisa Greshey, WBZ.
Now, an interview you saw first on CBSN Boston.
He's going to be remembered as a very unique person, you know, a person that everyone loved, and he loved everyone, and he just gave freely of himself all the time. And I think people will remember that.
The brother of one of the victims of this weekend's rampage in Winthrop says that his brother, quote, died the way he lived. Dave Green spent his life in service and may have been helping to stop the killer when he was shot. The other victim in Winthrop, 60-year-old Ramona Cooper, served in the Air Force. The district attorney says that Green and Cooper were targeted because they were black. Our coverage begins with WBZ's Lisa Greshey in Winthrop.
This is where this story began to unfold. The stolen box truck slamming into this home. Now signs that read Black Lives Matter hang around it as investigators believe the two victims were targeted.
I just came out on the porch a little while ago and just standing here and remember sitting out here. Remember sitting out here with my brother and we'd come up to visit and talk and laugh. It just brought back memories.
The brother of retired state trooper David Green flying into town as soon as he heard the news.
Some people are nice. He was kind. And he would help anyone at any time without even being asked. He would just automatically. And I understand that's what happened here. He heard that there was was an accident, he went to investigate, see if he could help, which is something he would readily do.
Neighbors believe Green was trying to stop the shooter.
I feel so bad for Dave. I ran right by him in the alleyway while this guy is just shooting away.
Hold on, so the guy was shooting away, and this woman was running. And David Green came to the alley when he heard the gunfire to see what was going on. And boom, he's face to face with the gunman. But according to this woman, the guy was shooting. And she ran right past him. But this guy only was trying to kill black people. And it's possible. The thing here is we try to get to the truth. So if you're new to the channel, you're going to be a little frustrated because you can go anywhere and hear about this. But we want to get to the truth here. So it's like if it was a racial incident, then it was a racial incident. It was just a madman shooting off in a 94.4% white town. Like where he crashed the house, where he crashed the truck into, was that black woman's home? Because she was the first person he saw when he got out of the truck and he shot her. Like, it just seems like these two black people that got killed, it just seems to be happenstance, chance. It doesn't seem to be anything that doesn't seem like the guy meant to, was trying to kill black people. Even though, and two things can be true. You can be a racist. Like, if everybody who was racist, if every white person who was racist only killed black people, according to y'all, there wouldn't be no black people left. According to y'all, judging by how many white people are racist and how many white people kill people. But the stats show that most white people kill other white people. 85% of the time when a white person kills someone, it's another white person. So are you saying only 15% of white people are racist? Who kill other races of people? That 15% of white killers who kill other races of people? Or is it like y'all say, basically 99% of white people are racist? Or systematically closeted or some kind of racist? Yet, you can name on one hand every black dude that's been killed by a white person. You name all of them. And this is just another one to add to the list. You wouldn't be able to name all of them if it happened as often as y'all say it does.
I feel so bad for Dave. I ran right by him in the alleyway while this guy is just shooting away.
Pushing him back into the street, where a Winthrop police sergeant shot and killed the suspect, 28-year-old Nathan Allen of Winthrop. Allen had already killed a 60-year-old Air Force veteran, Ramona Cooper. Her son in disbelief with the details coming out now.
Yeah, I got sick to my stomach when I found out about it was racially motivated.
District Attorney Rachel Rollins investigating this as a potential hate crime, finding writings from Allen detailing anti-Semitic and racist statements against black individuals.
He walked by several other people that were not black, and they are alive, and these two visible people of color are not.
The DA says she will reach out to the families of both victims, and counselors will be available to both children and adults across Winthrop. Reporting in Winthrop, Lisa Grushy, WBZ News.
Nathan Allen was shot and killed by Winthrop police after he refused to obey numerous commands to drop his gun following the rampage that also included crashing a stolen box truck. The DA says all early indications are that Allen acted alone. He was married, he was employed, he had a PhD and a license to carry. Investigators say he did not have a criminal record.
He was married, he was employed, he had a PhD, and he had no criminal record. Wow. That's not your typical white supremacist shooter. There's always some kind of like life failure. Somebody's divorced. Somebody lost their job. They're a bunch of debt. A history of antisocial or criminal behavior. Now this guy did do this. Like, we're not saying he didn't do it, but I'm just saying that's odd, man. Wow, he doesn't. Did he just snap when he crashed the truck? I mean, he was already a racist because of his writings. But if he wanted to kill a bunch of black people, he could have gone. There's a lot of places he could have gone, democratically run cities where the typical black person is not carrying. Now, I'm not saying he should have ran up on a drug corner or ran into a project hallway where a bunch of guys is hanging out. But he could have gone to a black community, a mall, a shopping center, something like that, a park, a grocery store in a black community, and found a bunch of black people, if it was a democratically run city, who were not packing guns, who would have been easy targets, sitting ducks. Now, most people kill close to home. They commit crime, even robberies and car thieves. They commit these things within a certain proximity. I don't know the FBI data fully, but most criminals commit crimes, even ones who commit, violent crimes like assaults and things like that. They're within a certain proximity to their home. So that may explain why he chose Winthrop to do his shooting rampage. But then the fact that it's racially motivated, allegedly, makes me think like, damn, well then why did he choose Winthrop? So let's see if there's any history of like black people being targeted there, since Winthrop is such a great place to target black people. Off to the gun memorial. Okay, so this is the Winthrop Gun Memorial. They don't have any shootings in Winthrop. When you click on Winthrop, this is the page that comes up. So let's look at Massachusetts. In Massachusetts is 9% black. 9% black. And 80.6% white. Little trivia for you guys. When my mom came back from Africa with me, when I was 1 year old, before she came to settle in her hometown of Washington, D.C., she took a job in Massachusetts, Boston, Massachusetts. And that's where I lived until I was 6. So, I lived in a building called the Piano Factory. So I have fond memories of Boston. My little buddies, all my little friends was white. Ernie, Sarah. Had a couple of black friends. The building we lived in, it was like, you had a big courtyard, and it was like, yeah, there was a lot of black kids over there. But the little kids that I hung out with, most of them were white. And I had a couple of little black friends, but because of the demographic in that area, it was mostly white. But you had areas where there was a lot of black people. But I remember it was a good time in Boston. Good times. But yeah, I didn't know it was only 9% black. Thought it was more than that. But yeah, 9% black and 80% white. And one thing that I noticed when I was there, and I don't know if it's still true, but I'm sure it's still true, just from common sense, all my little buddies, my little buddy Ernie, they was poor. Like we didn't live in a very rich, wealthy neighborhood, but the white people there, they wasn't like white people you see in other areas like Manhattan or, you know, Washington D.C. You know, these white people were poor, and they was, you know, kind of trashy, but only for lack of a better word. That's what we call white people like that. We call them trash. But they were what you would call working class. I would use the term working class, but trash, you know, why not? Bunch of trashy white people up there. Since that's the colloquial term. So let's see if this poverty is affecting them the way it affects other groups, where poverty leads directly to a proliferation of gun violence. While right off the bat, we're seeing a lot of guys, a lot of brothers, and none of these brothers made the news, so you know they weren't killed by white people. A lot of Latinos, man. Boy, the sun is really shining on this Boston Gun Memorial. Wow. 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 So a great deal of these gun violence victims in Boston wow. For a place that's only 9%, that's a lot. Wow. Does it ever cease to amaze y'all that everywhere we go, this is the case? But these two right here, David Green and Ramona Cooper, that's who this video is about. They were killed by a white man. So, I still don't know if it was race related, even though he's a racist. I don't know if it's race related. I think that, you know, by that logic, you know, it's allegedly so many white racists that, like, if any white person killed a black person, by the media, it would be considered racist. But if they're all racist, then any time a white person kills a black person, it's race related. R.I.P. to the families, man, of, you know, Ramona Cooper and David Green, man. Keep me up to date if y'all hear anything about this. Keep me posted. Get in the comment section, hit the like button. Peace. I'm out.